Thank you very much for a very nice introduction. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will be sharing with you what we have been doing on the ground with regards to mitigating the 3 MCPDE NGE in the Malaysian palm oil. It is slightly different from the title that was given earlier because I would rather share what exactly is happening on the ground with you rather than just talk about innovation that we have done. We have done quite a lot of work on the 3 MCPDE one. It has started earlier. And today I will just share with you a little bit of the background and what we have done at MPOB. And the most important thing is to share with you what is the current status and the progress update on this issue, because this 3 MCPDE NGE, as you know, come about after the publication of EFSA, which was released on May 2016. And after this release, actually people become very panicky. And right after that, one of the supermarkets in Italy, Coop, pulled back about 200 of their brand containing palm oil. So that's really triggered a panic among the consumers. The reason was that in the publication by EFSA, it was stated that 3 and 2 MCPD is actually a potential carcinogenic. So when you talk about carcinogenic and causing cancer, people become very scared because these are the things that we consume. And also, WHO also have the same statement saying that it can damage your kidney. So when it's causing a lot of problem, saying that it causes cancer to you, people become very panicked. So for me, if just now when Kevin talked about the environmental and about orangutan, I can still eat palm oil, but when people start talking about causing cancer, then it will create a lot of concern among the consumer, and that is also a big concern to us as the producer for palm oil. And that is not just the case. Starting from that also, the no palm oil label or campaign intensify. And if you look at the slide here, the numbers of countries putting the no palm oil label on their product really increased. And if you look in Italy, in France, Belgium, Spain, before this we have not heard anything in Spain with regards to no palm oil label. But once the EFSA report came out in May 2016, a lot of the industrial or the consumers said it is very important for them that their product contain no palm oil. So this label, like here you say this is in Italy, this is palm oil, this is in France. So all these products are now started to have the no palm oil label on their product. This is part of the, as was mentioned earlier by Dr. Sundram, part of the anti-palm oil campaign. But here, because of the report published by EFSA that triggers this even more compared to previously. And if you look at the sales of product containing palm, especially like say Nutella, which is very famous even in Malaysia and also in Europe, you can see that even here in Turkey, here in Turkey, the sales of Nutella after that publication really drops down tremendously. This is the impact on trade because of this publication. But we have to look on this 3 MCPD more on the holistic approach, not just one aspect. Because the carcinogenicity that was published by EFSA is based on the study done on mice only. There's no study done on human or any other or bigger animal. So they extrapolate what happened in mouse or in rat up to human. So think about that as well when you look at the whole picture about this 3 MCPD. And if you look at the chronology, what has happened, actually between EFSA and JECFA, there's been some inconsistency in terms of recommendation for the PMTDI, that is provisional maximum tolerable daily intake of this compound. So based on this, people also become a little bit concerned, which is actually the level that you can consume when you eat product containing palm oil or other oil which may contain 3 MCPD. Because here it's not just palm oil, it's other oil, as I've showed earlier, also contain 3 MCPD NGE. So based on this publication by EFSA and JECFA, they are still concerned what is actually the real level that is allowable or acceptable in vegetable oil. And if you look at what we have done so far, actually we have started a lot of work on these 3 MCPD starting from 2009. And when the EFSA report came out in 2016, we really intensified the work on this project. And we have established how to analyze this. And lately, the AOCS also have published the method of analysis, which are now harmonized and acceptable by most of the manufacturers and also the people who are carrying out the study on this. And also MPOB also have adopted the method by AOCS and have been working with the industry member to implement this in the industry so that we can analyze our refined oil to see the level of 3 MCPD and GE. And last year, we have started some pilot studies with our industry member at the industrial scale to see how effective it is in terms of reducing 3 MCPD and GE in our refined oil. This is using our technology as well as other technology that are available in the market at this point. And at MPOB, we actually have done a lot of pilot studies, but pilot studies doesn't translate well when you go to the commercial study because the volume that we are testing is not as big as what we're doing at the commercial level. So based on what we have done at our lab scale and pilot scale, we then goes to the commercial scale. And we have come up with a few ideas or a few approach how to mitigate this because 3 MCPD is not just the issue at the refinery. Actually, it started from the plantation because this is the whole supply chain of the oil palm industry that we are talking about. It has to start from the plantation because at the plantation, we know there are factors that can cause or can contribute to the formation of 3 MCPD later on. For example, at the plantation, when you use the fertilizer that contain chlorine, it can be absorbed by the plant and being used in the production of oil. So the chlorine may be incorporated into the oil itself as an organochlorine. And one way is to change the fertilizer use. But changing the fertilizer actually will cost a lot of money. And you need a lot of development as well. And for the farmers to change their current fertilizer, which contains sulfate, to those which contain chlorine, to those which does not contain chlorine, is going to cost 3 times more than what they are paying now. So money is the issue. And we have been talking earlier, price is something that is very sensitive to the buyers of palm oil, also to our farmers and planters, because they have to control the price during the whole production or the supply chain. And at the plantation, this will be the long-term strategy that they are working on, but we can make sure that the quality of the CPO coming from plantation is good. That means we do not have high level of FAA or DAG because this can also contribute to the formation of the glycidol ester later during the refining process. What we are doing right now is to focus at the mills and the refinery, because at the mill, when you receive the fresh fruit bunches, that's where it's going to be processed, and the chlorine may come in during the whole processing at the mill. And when the chlorine is present in the CPO, it will lead to the formation of 3 MCPD. We know chlorine is the reason why the 3 MCPD is being formed together at the high temperature during refining. So one way is to clean up your CPO. If you process it, wash it with slightly alkaline water, you can remove most of the inorganic chlorine which may come up during the process of milling. And once that washed CPO is sent to refineries, we can use a natural bleaching earth during the refining and at slightly lower temperature. Then we can make sure, or we can ensure that the level of 3 MCPD produced in the refined oil is going to be low. And also, we want to make sure that whatever technology that we use to reduce 3 MCPD and GE in our industry is acceptable by all people, and the level that we are going to come up later also is acceptable to everyone. Because if you can see here, in general, currently we have about 3 to 6 ppm of 3 MCPD and about 6 to 7 ppm of GE. So we want to reduce this to as low as possible, accepted by all parties in Malaysia as well as in the importing countries. So that's very important that the technology that we choose is practical and cost-effective, that our industry members can really implement on the ground. And here is what I want to show with you, where the chlorine can come during the milling process. So if you look here, when you use the steam to sterilize these fresh fruit bunches, that can be one source of chlorine, and then you have the sterilizer condensate, which then will go through to all this collection center. And the other part which chlorine can come is the steam that is used for digestion process. So these are the area where we have to be very careful not to mix it back with the fresh CPO. And another thing that we are concerned, once you strip the fresh fruit bunches, you have empty fruit bunches, or what we call EFB. And here, you still have some oil left in the empty fruit bunches. And sometimes, companies do press these empty fruit bunches to get the EFB oil. And we have tested the EFB oil. It does have high level of chlorine. And we would recommend that not to mix any of this oil that you recover from EFB with the fresh oil, because that will be the cause of chlorine entering into the system. And as you go along with your CPO, we did a washing process with the CPO, and then go through vacuum drying, and then go for the holding tank, and then go for refining process. And here we have also carried some correlation studies to show that if your level of chlorine increase in your CPO, you can be sure that your refined oil will also contain very high level of 3 MCPDE. So, as I said earlier, the source of chlorine can come from the process, which can be the inorganic chlorine or organochlorine coming from the tree itself or from the fruit oils. And we did some random analysis to look at the total chlorine in crude palm oil. So here, just focus on crude palm oil. Usually, if the CPO is very clean, the level of chlorine is very low. If it doesn't go any contamination along the process, you can be assured that level of chlorine in CPO is very low. But if there is something happening along the supply chain, the level of chlorine will tend to increase, and we have seen in so many samples that we have tested. And here, once we had done this pilot scale, we take one step further to do a washing trial at the industrial scale. Because if we're just talking about lab scale and pilot scale, the data may not correlate very well. But some of you may have seen this data, but I would like to show what happened here. When you look at the fresh CPO, the level of total chlorine is about 12 ppm. And when you wash this is just washing using the normal tap water coming from the system. We did not treat any of the water because we want to see in the worst case scenario what will happen. So we consider this as the worst case scenario. So the fresh CPO here, and then before we do a bit of washing before drying, you can see some cloudiness here. But once we dry it, after the vacuum drying, you can see a clear, clean CPO. And these are the wash water coming from the CPO. And we are very certain that here, this wash water actually contains a lot of phytonutrient and other goodies in here, which we can test. But here you can see, after we wash with the CPO, the level of chlorine has come down to 1.6 ppm. So most of the inorganic chlorine has been washed off during this process. And if you look at the level of 3 MCPDE and GE in the refine of the washed CPO, you can see here, at the refined palm oil, at the dehydration stage, when we collect the sample, just look at the level of 3 MCPDE here, about 1 ppm only. But the GE has not changed, because here we are looking about removing the chloride, which react at high temperature to produce 3 MCPDE. And when you do post-refining, doing a little bit more of bleaching and deodorize, a slight deodorizing, you can see that the level of GE here, before post-refining, has come down to 1.8 or about 2 ppm. So you can see this can be managed, and there are ways that industry members can do it, because we did this trial together with one of the industry members. And you look also, another thing, when we fractionate, because RBD palm oil is always fractionated to get palm oil and palm stearin. And here we can see that 3-MCPD will partition more in the liquid fraction, which is the palm oil, and less in the stearin, which is the solid component. Similarly, with GE also, it will partition more in the olein segment compared to the stearin, because these are oil-loving components, so they'll stay more in the liquid sector, in the liquid portion. And here, like I mentioned just now, when we wash and then we refine the CPO, we can reduce the 3-MCPD in our refined oil. But for the GE, we need to do a little bit of post-refining, a slight bleaching and deodorization, and then we get RBD with lower GE, as we shown in the previous table. So then we go through fractionation process, which is the normal process that we always have in our industry. We get palm olein and palm stearin. Here, if you want to have palm olein to be containing low level of 3-MCPD, then the level of 3-MCPD here should also be low, because it tends to partition more in the olein segment compared to the stearin segment. And this was to show in 2012, when EFSA published the report in 2016, they actually used this data that was published looking at palm oil here. Here there is about 2.3 ppm. This is just one of the data that they look at, but there are a few other data that came about to be 2.9 ppm just now, and I showed in the first slide. So from then, we have carried out also a random survey from our shops or retail shop in Malaysia to see how does the other oil, the oilseed compared with regards to the level of 3-MCPD in the refined oil. So you can see here, in 2016, that was about 2 years ago already, palm oil now contained less than 2 ppm of 3-MCPD. Here is palm olein. So, and then if you look at extra virgin olive oil, we did not detect anything. But olive pomace also has a quite high level of 3-MCPD, almost similar to palm oil. And the other soft oil still have 3-MCPD, but at much lower level compared to palm oil, because their process is slightly different. But if you combine or you blend a few oils together, you can see the sum of the 3-MCPD present in the oil will also increase. And this is what I would really like to share with you. What is happening right now on the ground is that our government previously has allocated about a 50 million grant for us to work with the industry member to mitigate this 3-MCPD and glycidol ester in our refined oil. And from then, this started early or late 2016, and we start working in early 2017. And after we had run the industrial trial earlier, we have now identified several mills and refineries who are willing to work with us together with the technology provider to address this issue. And right now we have 13 mills and 7 refineries who are currently working with us to address this issue using different technology from different technology providers, also together also with our technology. These are the location of the companies who have agreed to work with us. We have to look both in West Malaysia as well as East Malaysia, because we want to look at different type of soil. In Sabah and Sarawak, especially in Sarawak, there are a lot of peat soil, so there are a lot of chlorine present. How does that impact the quality of CPO and the quality of refined palm oil? And in Malaysia, most of the work concentrated in the central and south, and so a little bit of the east coast of Malaysia, because a lot of mill and refineries are located here. We only have one in Perak, the northern part, and nothing from the northern area, either Perlis or Kedah or Kelantan, because they do not have big or large plantation area compared to the southern part. So these are the companies who have signed an agreement with MPOB, also with the technology provider, to start working on this project to mitigate the formation of 3-MCPD in the refined oil. And, one second. And here are the technology provider that have agreed to work with us. And you can see we have GA Westphalia, Lipochem, and MPOB, Alpha Lava, Dismet Balastra, and Sunwind. And among these technology provider, there are a few innovations on how to reduce or mitigate the formation of 3-MCPDE and GE. But at this point, I cannot deliberate so much on the innovation because we signed NDA with the technology provider that will not be talking about their technology yet until we complete the whole trial with the 20 companies that I've shown earlier. So what will happen is that once we complete all this trial, we will look at the data that we have collected. So far, all the companies now are ordering the components and parts. This is the bottleneck because it takes a very long time to get it fabricated, delivered, and installed at the factory site. So most of them will be starting the trial in October, November, and December. So we have 3 months to collect all the data with the industry members. And from then, we will evaluate all the data and then come up with a proposal. What would be the level that the industry member can also produce and can comply? And at the same time, we are also working to develop the code of practice on how to mitigate the formation of 3-MCPDE along the supply chain. We are working together with Codex Group, and we hope by early 2019, we will be able to launch the COP and also to come up with the proposal for the best technology that can be adopted by the industry, as well as the level of 3-MCPDE and GE that we could set in our refined oil. So we hope to get this work as we plan, but sometimes there are plus or minus in terms of timing. But our target is to get all this data out and the level by Q1 next year. So we still have a few more months to get this work completed. And as I mentioned earlier, at the same time, we are also working with Codec, especially on the CCCF, Codec Committee on Foods, Contaminant in Foods, to come up with the COP, which will be adopted by most of the producing countries. We have been working together with our industry members, and we have also circulated all the code of practice, which is in draft at step 5 with Codec, for them to comment. So what will happen here is that once the comment period is now open, all the industry members can submit their comment to MPOB, and we can then input that to Codec website, because Malaysia is one of the co-chair for the Electronic Working Committee on the COP. So we hope we can come up with a holistic approach and measure to mitigate the formation of 3-MCPDE and GE in refined oil, not just palm oil. What we expect to do is by 2020, this COP is expected to be adopted at the CAC. And we hope we'll be able to get all the input from our industry members, because it really matters what we put in there, because most of the country will then follow those COP. So the only thing is that US is pushing to get this COP adopted by next year. We'll make sure that everything is in order before it goes to the adoption process at the CAC 2020. And one last thing that I want to mention here, EU has already come up with the level for the GE, which is 1 ppm. And I'm sure everybody knows about this. And what happened here is that this has come into force already since March 19. And here, the level of GE in the products for food, except for the infant formula, is 1 ppm. But if you are producing product for infant and young children, the level is 0.5 ppm. There are other two levels which I did not include here. There is, if you are producing liquid product or powder for young infant, then the level will be much lower than 0.5. Here you also, if you read the regulation, there is a time until June 2019. If your product is already in the market, it still has slightly higher than 1 ppm, it can still be there until June next year. But if you are sending product to EU now, you may get your product stopped at the border. They will not allow you to enter if the level of GE in your product is higher than 1 ppm. And I just want to share with you the first alert that we received. This is one of the consignment from Malaysia. This is not a very good thing to show, but I want to show with you as well, because this is really happening, because the EU is really taking action for product entering their border having the level of GE higher than 1 ppm. So this, this come through the alert from a rapid alert system in the EU for food and feed. So they will list out all the product which has been rejected. We got this information through our Ministry of Health because they are a member of this rapid alert system. And you can see our product here was rejected from Poland, coming from Poland, because the glycidol ester in the product is about 9.3 ppm, which is much, much higher than the level allowed by the EU. So this is a real serious case, and it happened. And this product has been shipped back to Malaysia. So we have to do something. This is very serious. We really have to take action to make sure that our product is low in GE if you really want to export to EU. Just saying that, it doesn't mean that the product in Malaysia should contain more than 1. It should be as the same standard. So for GE, we haven't got any level yet. So we are working with through Codex to make sure that the level that is going to be put forward is acceptable for everyone. But FIDEOL has already come up or proposing to come up with a level of about 3 ppm by 2020 and maybe going lower by 2022. And for us, the way forward is to make sure that the quality of our palm oil is safe for everyone, not just the EU or anybody, but for everybody in Malaysia and other people. And we want to make sure that the product that we produce in Malaysia contain low level of 3 MCPDE, and this will be, well, we will have the result when we finish our trial by the end of this year. And we will also, by then, establish the code of practice on how to mitigate the 3 MCPDE and glycidol ester along the supply chain. And currently what we are doing, we have been discussing with PORAM, our Palm Oil Refining Association, to look at the quality of CPO specification, and also we will also be talking with other stakeholders like MPOB, also from the Millers Group, with CIRIP and Department of Standard, to look at revising our CPO to tighten it up for the chlorine level, especially because we don't have that currently in our specification. And as a conclusion, what I would like to say is that safety in our food cannot be compromised, because it goes for everybody, not just the product that we export to the EU. All the people that consume any vegetable oil, it has to be safe and it has to be good for our health. And for the 3 MCPD, we need to do more study on the health impact, because the study so far published by the EU, or no, by the EFSA, is based on the mouse study. Unless anybody has other data looking at the clinical trial with this 3 MCPD, I'll be more than happy to see that data. And we will just implement the specific level of 3 MCPD after consultation with the industry member based on the study that we are currently running now at the industrial level. And we would like to propose a higher mandate for the quality of CPO with the consultation of all the stakeholders, and also to establish the COP to make sure along the supply chain all action are being taken to ensure the safety and quality of our palm oil. And of course, we will continue to engage with our stakeholder locally as well as at the international level when it comes to the safety of our product. And before I conclude, I would like to invite everybody to our event next year, PPOC 2019, which will be happening in KLCC from 19 to 21 November next year. And with that, I would like to thank you very much for your kind attention.